Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Be There in 5 podcast. I'm Kate Kennedy, your host. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. Also, I hate that I just did this. Also, I'm looking at you now because I should, but I can't look at myself while I'm talking. Like, for me to extemporaneously speak, I kind of, like, to myself, I kind of need to, like, I don't know. So I'm sure this isn't that exciting to watch. So if you're new here, Be There in 5 is a pop culture podcast, but I mean that less in the sense of like entertainment, news, and celebrity gossip, and more so in like the zeitgeist trends, fads, elements of collective consciousness of a given time that I love to explore, both nostalgic and current. And the focus of the podcast is really the millennial female experience. But today we kind of have like an amazing bridge of topics in that we are talking about a form of entertainment, a documentary that was on Netflix that came out June 20th called America's Sweethearts, Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders. And it intersects with like so many women's issues and such like a deeper conversation about women's work. Like, I don't even know where to begin. I think this will be kind of a hybrid deep dive of my own commentary paired with an interview that I'm very excited for with one of the women featured on the documentary. Her name's Victoria Kalina. And I was so impressed with her candor and vulnerability in the docu-series. And I wanted to see if she'd like be willing to dig deeper and chat. And as I record this, I haven't actually interviewed her yet, but I almost like to get my thoughts off my chest first before I interview somebody because I'm easily swayed. I feel like I need to, do my due dil and be a professional here and give you like a proper kind of overview and critique of the doc. And then we'll get to the interview. So if you want to skip to it, totally fine. But if you're a super fan like me and want to talk through some of the lore, stick around. I feel like, given the pod name, I'm going to count this one in. We'll call it Be There in 5, 6, 7, 8. Ladies and gentlemen, here she is, America's sweetheart, often imitated, never equaled, internationally acclaimed, your former Dallas Cowboys cheerleader who is on to bigger and better things, Victoria Kalina. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Did I get that right?
Yeah, that was spot on.
Victoria, the way we are writing for you in this nation right now, I mean, how are you feeling 2 weeks after this documentary has premiered?
I am honestly so beautifully overwhelmed, like in such a good way, that my message resonated and hit home to people. And just this docu-series, I was very nervous at first, I will not lie. Whenever the editing process was began and it was like out of our hands, like we didn't have any control of it, I was like, I think I was a little too brutally honest. I think I might have overshared. I started second guessing myself. But with all the beautiful responses, I'm like so thankful that I feel like I can speak up now. I feel seen. And I'm just so glad it's resonating with people.
Okay, I'm glad you bring that up because, so I think the docuseries has resonated with people in terms of your story because, it talked a lot about like authenticity. And I know that a goal of Charlotte and Kelly's, wherever the show would go post CMT, like they wanted it to be authentic to the organization. Mm-hmm. And the docuseries was authentic to the organization, but I'd argue that one of the hallmarks of the organization is it doesn't necessarily honor vulnerability and honesty. It's more, they value politeness, pleasantry, and positivity, which can often be at odds with being real. You made the brave and important choice of being real and being honest. Mm-hmm. I was kind of curious what made you go into the filming process, not knowing what it was going to look like. They gave over production control, I gathered, to Netflix, and they used to have control with CMT. So, right. was it a conscious choice for you to be more honest about your experience with like sisterhood and body image, or does that just come natural to you?
I will say I am very grateful for my home studio that I grew up at. My second dad, he always had a camera in our faces from whenever I was 2 years old. So I am not camera shy by any means. But I wanted to go in, especially since I had that year off. Like I already kind of knew my teammates and Kelly and Judy knew about the struggles that I face. And so I didn't want it to be like a hidden wound. And
Mhm.
when the time was right organically with Netflix, I just felt the need to cover it up because it's sometimes when you don't open up about things, you're almost pretending they're not there. And it's, man, I don't want to
Right.
have to, like, that's more exhausting is having to fake it rather than this is
Right.
who I am.
Absolutely. And, you know, there's the personal element of it with mental health and body image, but I appreciated you being realistic about your experience with sisterhood because, like, I was in a sorority and I identified with what you were saying a lot. It's confusing when, like, BFFdom's on the bill of goods, but you're not, like, really feeling what everyone else is talking about, or you feel like
Yeah.
something's missing. Were you nervous to talk about the sisterhood element because it kind of involves other people?
I mean, a little bit. And just like you had said, the vulnerability and openness of Cowboys is very much politeness, manners, and putting on this. Like, I know whenever I'm being me, Victoria, and then having to be DCC Victoria, it's all rainbows and unicorns. And I'm just like, that's not, that's how we need to show
Right.
ourselves when we're on an appearance, but that's not us really. So I think that's where some of us kind of had struggles of like kind of breaking that barrier.
Yeah.
But I just wanted people to see that it's not everyone's experience is like that. It's not always, oh
Right.
yeah, we're here for best friends. We're here for she's my bridesmaid. I met her day one. And it's just like that's everyone says that, but that's not realistic.
I mean, it is kind of crazy how the first year we'll have a full triangle to do a full-on thunderstruck at a wedding reception with 26 people.
I
And I'm
know.
like, oh, have you gotten close with all those people in the past 6 months? But it's like beautiful and great. But yeah, like just statistically, not everybody in every group is going to completely vibe. And per what you said about the facade that DCC requires of you, did you feel like you had trouble being yourself because at practices and functions when you were spending time with people, you kind of had to be a different version of you?
Almost. Yes. Because, and I will say this, in all honesty, I think in the 2 years before my gap year, I didn't have any troubles with any of that. But then after I took that year
Oh.
off, I feel like that's when people were like, oh, we got to be sensitive. But it's no, you don't.
Oh, I see.
So I
So
think even though
I got it.
I think that's where things kind of started to get a little messy and different.
So it's not that they weren't interested or being just fundamentally cold. It's that you think they were tiptoeing?
Yeah. But also from the get-go, I still had trouble vibing, but I think it
Yeah.
really heightened after my year off.
Yeah. Isn't it so interesting how you go through life and you're in different reference groups and everything's always fine and you just assume you can get along with anybody, and then you find yourself in a new context and you're like questioning everything?
Well, and I used to always go home for practice. Like my mom, we would always have conversations about all of this. And I was like, Mom, I feel like it's me because I'm like, I can vibe with anyone outside of my dance studio, at school, like whatever. But there, it's just not clicking. And I didn't know. I don't know. I truly don't.
I think that, like, there's always a two-way street with a relationship, and when you're a part of a group, who's ever on the in, who's ever in the cliques, who's ever already made their own smaller friend group, like, they kind of almost become an entity that you have to have a
Yeah.
two-way dynamic with, and I think you were close with her at one point, or maybe still are, and she seems absolutely lovely. I have nothing bad to say about Kelsey, but I just didn't love the wording of her saying it probably was hard for her to insert herself after taking that year off, when I would kind of flip that and say, well, there's also the element of inclusion.
Yeah. No, I agree completely 100%. I mean, I think it all ultimately winds up back from the top, like with Kelly and Judy. Like you and everyone saw that they kind of not dissed me, but I mean, basically. And I think that since all the girls saw them doing that, then they thought it was okay. How they think, I think they said that they don't see me as a leader at the end. It's just like, well, they don't because you don't.
Oh, yeah.
So I think
Oh,
it starts
Victoria,
honestly from the top.
it does. And I'm glad you said that because I wasn't sure. Because you said Kelly was one of like the first people to hold you. You grew up with her. On the surface, you would think having that relationship would be to your advantage. However, I'd argue it was to your disadvantage because it almost felt like she was too casual with you, knew you too well, and perhaps knew a younger version of you that she didn't let you depart from and wasn't like allowing you to evolve and grow as like an adult Victoria. She kind of treated you a bit like a child the whole time, and it bothered me. Did you ever feel that way?
I actually feel kind of the opposite. Not so much that she still looked at me as a child, but I feel like she disconnected our personal lives completely and wanted it to be like, we are only professional. I have no sentiment towards you. I think that's where it was.
Like she overcorrected. That's so interesting because, yeah, I have to say that, what was it like? Okay, what was it like watching back that scene with hanging up the uniforms? Because I and everybody else in America was screaming, she did tell you she wanted to be in a leadership role. I just saw, like, I think their exact words were, Victoria, where did this come from? Where did it come from? 20 minutes ago. Like, I just was very confused by that. And I think I saw you kind of trying to calculate on the fly what the heck was going on. And then you're like, not knowing how to move forward in that moment. So what was it like hearing them act like you've never said that before?
I was truly blindsided by that whole conversation. And I was like, what? But that's when I'm just like, it starts from the top. Like, they're going to hear what they want to hear. They're going to pick and choose what sentences stick with them, what phrases stick with them. And I don't know.
Yeah. It's just they weren't hearing you for some reason.
No.
But you said it is what I guess my point is and what matters. And we all heard it too. Like, you made it abundantly clear. But your point about trickling down and it starting from the top is a great one because, you know, if they weren't even ever positioning you in that way in their minds, they probably weren't even receptive to hearing you when you were asking for it.
Yeah. And I think that's partly sometimes why I think or felt like the girls didn't always respect me is because I don't know if Judy and Kelly really gave me their full respect.
Yeah. Do you think it's because you took a year off? I know you said the girls, it felt a little different before and after the gap, but did that also translate to the coaches? Okay. See, that's tough because you made such a brave choice to like take care of yourself and come back better.
I feel like that too, but this is where I think, honestly, this is where the mental health discussion becomes so people don't know whether or not to speak out because I feel like I was in a way punished by speaking out.
Yeah.
And taking that break off.
Then that's really upsetting and all the more important that you shared because I think that the hard part is like a lot of what you were going through, you know, so many women in that room were going through too. And there's something so deeply sad about this reinforcement of repressing it to keep everything pleasant because you know where it ends, you know how it feels. And before I go further, what is your like current status with your relationship with Kelly? I respect her as a leader, but yeah, the dynamics are worth digging into, and I wasn't sure your comfort level. Are you guys still close? Do you feel comfortable having candid conversations?
Since the show, I have not heard from anyone.
So like even today's show, you did an interview, but you just sat there with them?
I didn't get invited to the Today Show.
Oh, you didn't? So you haven't seen them or talked to them since the show came out? Oh, Victoria, it's so weird because you're like the star of it.
I don't know.
I know you probably feel weird answering that, but
no,
okay,
but
I appreciate your response.
Sometimes I think that they also kind of use that against me too.
Yeah, like that you were such a focus of the program.
And I will say this, not to brag about myself, but I feel like one of the things that I really brought to the team was my fan connection and just like how I was with the appearances and everything. And with that, I was like always kind of a fan favorite. And I don't know. I felt like that was sometimes not what is the right word?
No, I was kind of wondering that because I could see that there was a different energy in practice versus when you would be at a nursing home with kids, with the fans. You were so good with those interactions. And to be totally honest, you were one of the only people going into the docu-series that I knew and recognized because you had such a place on the CMT show.
Mm-hmm.
You and Lauren Conrad have two of the most iconic mascara running scenes in all of television, in my opinion.
I made it.
I think that's an interesting observation because if you are vibing internally and there's this disconnect where externally people are really responding to you, I can see how that creates tension. Fascinating. Well, I am so grateful for you answering these, honestly. And does it frustrate me and kind of make me mad that I haven't heard from anybody? Yeah, but I'll save my thoughts for the outro. Okay, so you're not negotiated, but curious. Did you have an moment? Because where we left off, you were trying to gauge from Kelly and Judy what they saw for you next season and let that potentially dictate what you did. And we watch you kind of trying to internalize their feedback to figure out your next move. And your reflex, I think as an ambitious, perfectionistic type person, I think your reflex in that moment was to be like, I'm going to prove them wrong. But it seems like you took a step back and then just, reassessed and realized you didn't want to try out. Was there an aha moment? Was there a particular catalyst that led to that?
Well, okay. I went into that end meeting with my mind set on, yes, I'm going to be re-auditioning. And I didn't want to see where their head was at with me, but I kind of wanted to see where their head was with me, where their head was at and just what their thoughts were. So after that whole gut punching conversation, in the middle of the conversation, I was like, I'm going to hang it up on no. They don't want me. And especially as a fifth year, from my experience of being around the organization, if you are a fifth year and they are not begging you to come back, they don't want you. I've learned that from being around the organization from the tot. So that's what I was getting at. I was like, they're threatening my position. They don't want me. Because as a fifth year girl, you should be going on cloud 9. You're the top of the team. You're going to be leading them. That's how the pyramid goes in DCC world. I went home and I sat on it for 24 hours because I didn't want to make a rash decision. And then I came back and fully decided.
Yeah, okay. Are you a Taylor Swift fan before I make this reference?
Yes, I am.
Okay. To me, that moment was like, my involvement, my participation should be celebrated, but you just tolerate it.
Yes.
I felt for you in that moment because I would feel so crazy. All you've done, all you've devoted, you left and worked on yourself to come back better for them. It was disappointing to say the least. I'm glad that you came to that conclusion on your own. It was important that you not be led to that in the room by their coercion, but realize they might have nudged me, but I decided that this isn't for me. I think that conversation, as harsh and weird as it was it probably needed to happen for you to really be like, yep, I'm done.
I think so too. And it seriously was totally meant to be because the New York situation, my apartment, my opportunities that I am hoping to have here are all falling into place so beautifully. So it was definitely, I know, meant to happen.
Oh, of course. Speaking of your living situation, okay, did you live in the room where you filmed up until you moved to New York?
Yes.
In the twin bed? The iconic twin bed?
Yes, the iconic twin bed. Okay, I need to let people know right here, right now, I did have a full-size bed at some point, but my room is so small, the full bed base, I didn't have any walking room. So I was like, I want a cute space where I can do my makeup and have a desk. That's why I switched to a twin-size bed. So it was my doing. It was my decision. I wanted it. And I decided to get a twin-size bed.
Listen, I slept on a pink metal day bed with pink hearts on it. So I was 18. I loved it. Yeah, I kind of was like, she's a dancer. We moved the furniture so we can dance. I mean, I think even in your living room, didn't you have your love seat pushed up against the front door because you were... because that didn't look like it was supposed to normally be there. And I was like, I wonder if they were dancing or doing a puzzle or something.
I have that whole center so I can stretch, do all my dancing things, practice.
If you don't mind me asking, your mom, is she still close with Kelly?
They haven't talked since the show came out.
I feel for your mom too, because it's such a long friendship and these are complicated dynamics, but they shouldn't, there's nothing to be mad at you for. You gave it life. And did you tell them at the time, oh, I've been talking to the producers pretty candidly, or do you think that they were surprised?
I think they knew that Netflix was following me around like quite heavily.
Mm-hmm.
Like they followed me up to New York. They obviously followed me on my birthday. Like I was very much heavily followed, but I don't think they really knew the conversations that were being had.
You had one of the most beautiful moments with them, you know, just as an observer of docu-series style things. Like to break the fourth wall, it has to be pretty damn poignant to do that as an editorial choice. And they did that only with you in the car when I assume it was a producer said, like, Victoria, you are strong. I cried. I mean, that was like a really raw moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was that kind of crazy to watch back? Because that might be something in my memory that wasn't that significant, but watching it was really powerful.
It was a powerful moment for me in the moment too.
Oh, I love that you guys were like connecting. They seem to understand you.
Mm-hmm. And we're still, the producer, he's like my older brother. Like I know he'll always have my back. We got super close during this process.
I love that. Okay, well, you know that you can't say the word brother without me asking. Has your brother or dad ever come to a dance recital?
My older brothers love them, but they are athletes. And summer baseball usually took up most of their time. And so my house was kind of a house divided. My mom took me, we did all the girly things. And then my dad took the boys, did all the boy things. And they were mostly always at a summer tournament for baseball during my recital. However, love them, but I feel like they could have made a little bit more effort into coming to other things. Like we have so many performances and competitions throughout the season. And I've sat in my share of hot baseball games.
Yeah, baseball. So they never came to see you cheer at Cowboy Stadium?
They've come to a few games, yes.
Okay, but that's in the context of football. They've never come to something that was where the centerpiece was dance.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, that's so tough. And I've run into this a lot in my life too. I do feel like sometimes women's interests in sports and forms of athletics like that are more in the arts can get kind of passed off as frivolous or like less important than,
yeah,
you know, I don't know them. I can't project that onto them, but yeah, that would be disappointing. It's like, I want you to want to do the dishes. I want you to want to come.
Yes. I always felt like I know they wanted to be at the games, but I felt like it was almost dragging them to it. But yeah. I do know ultimately they are like my number one supporters. Like now that I've moved away from home and I'm on my own here in New York, they FaceTime me every single day. They want to know what's up, how I'm doing. So I don't know.
Are they your older brothers?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So your dad, your two brothers, did you all live in the same house?
Mm-hmm.
While it was being, that's okay. So the show made it seem very Gilmore Girlsian. Like it was just you and your mom, thick as thieves. That's it.
Oh, well, one of my older brothers lives at home. And my dad, he works in the restaurant business. So his hours are super weird. He sleeps all day and then he works all night. But then my oldest brother, he is in Colorado with his wife. So he doesn't actually live at home.
Oh, okay. Do you think that your dad understands? He knows how good you are at dance, right?
I think they're finally realizing that now.
You're like literally a world-class athlete. I mean, but isn't it so crazy that, I don't know, the kind of like undermining of things like dance and cheer, it can happen like even under your nose in your own household?
Well, and I think they thought that this was like something silly, kind of like not that CMT was silly, but I thought that they were just like, oh, it's Netflix, whatever. And so they kind of opted out to not being in it. They didn't want to be on camera and be filmed. And now they're like, man, they're like, you're the now.
Could have been good promo for you. That's
too
so
late
funny.
now.
That's amazing. Okay, and one thing so many people wanted to clear up / ask, the infamous TikTok birthday party. Great TikTok, by the way. Your mom could have had a steadier hand zooming in on that cake, but hey. Did you invite people to that party or was it just you and your mom's like family celebration?
We had an appearance that morning and that's when Ted asked, hey, can we come film? Can we come celebrate your birthday with you? And I was like, yeah. So I word of mouth and vocalized, hey, Netflix is coming. There's going to be cake. The more the merrier. But I guess it just didn't trickle along.
So in that moment, did that bother you?
No, because everything that I said, I always felt like that got just brushed aside.
Yeah,
and not
like you
fully
felt
acknowledged.
invisible.
I felt like it just went like, whoop.
What a crazy feeling that must
Yeah.
be. Bless your heart. But
Thank
I'm just
you.
sorry for that experience. I think that ultimately it's like you can analyze it all day, but the conclusion you came to that is the one we should focus on is good for you, not for me. Like maybe a place other people are thriving, but something was off. And I think it's more about them than you. And
Mhm.
I don't know, just was like a fucking punch in the gut to me that you went out of your way to show up for Kelsey's engagement, and that it was like a packed house. And you deserve that same hype from true friends. And
Mhm.
I know for a fact you'll find it in New York. But
Thank
I'm just
you.
sorry for that experience. I've been there
Yeah.
too. And it's just like that feeling of
Mhm.
nobody coming to your party is tough. And
Well, a lot
oh,
of
go ahead.
like parties are planned like from another girl on the team. Like
Mm-hmm.
they'll be like, "Hey, we're gonna do this and this," and I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Ugh. Why I oughta. I'm telling you, Victoria. So did you noticed Netflix was following you a lot. Do you have any idea how 2 questions. Did they pre-identify whose stories they were gonna follow, like you and Reese? Or did they film a bunch and then in post, like, kind of figure out whose stories were aligning best? Yeah.
I truly didn't pay attention to who got mic'd on when and how many times, so I couldn't tell
But,
you
other
exactly.
people did pay attention to that.
Probably, but yeah, I don't know. I just focused on
You
myself
weren't
during
overthinking
this.
it.
No,
So, did you watch the documentary with everybody else, or did you see it early?
we saw episodes 1 and 2 early,
Okay.
like, probably a month before it came out, and we had rented out, like, a little studio at the Star for us to all watch it as a team, but I walked out after episode 1. I was like, "I'm not watching this anymore." Well, and especially, like, in front of other people, I'm like, "No, I can't. I'll watch it in the privacy of myself."
Was there, like so you did eventually watch it all 7 episodes, though?
Mhm.
So, was there any particular moment they showed that surprised you or something you forgot about? Or what was the biggest moment for you watching it back?
I think seeing how isolated I was, because I knew that I felt that way, and I think my mom hasn't watched it all. She's just seen, like, little clips that I post on my Instagram story or whatnot that I repost from people, and I think seeing how just, like, apparent that was, and it wasn't in my head,
Mm.
made me feel, like, not crazy.
You're so right. I mean, the fact that it's like a collective of people picked up on this, you know? It
Yes.
wasn't like you trying to convince the cameras. You said a couple things, but it was implied by your interactions. Like, you didn't need to tell people it was going on.
I think it's wild that, 1, the producers and the crew picked up on it, and 2, the world has picked up on it, and they've only seen season 1. They've seen 7 episodes. I've been with this organization for 4 years, and they haven't picked up or said anything about it.
Right. I know, and that's what I was hoping you'd be willing to talk about that and not feel weird because the thing is, there are way more people that deal with this and feel like this. It's not always what it seems behind the scenes. And if that's the case and somebody's always dreamed of something and it's not working out, like it's okay to walk away. It's okay to have a new dream and to evolve once you get new information. And I think that like people, I don't know, it was healing in a sense to watch you go through something a lot of us have been through and then choose yourself.
Well, and I think it's super important. Like, I know that even when I'm searching, like, for this new dance job, wherever that leads, I don't want to have to either fit their mold or have to always give to them and
Mhm.
not receive it back.
Absolutely. There was so much expectation, hype, and you grew up steeped in this environment that probably made it seem like an end all be all that you wanted it to live, and I'm sure it did live up to many aspects of it, but now you can kind of nip it in the bud and be like, this isn't right for me. But when you grow up idolizing something, I understand that you would jump through hoops to try to make yourself fit instead of be
Exactly.
like, this isn't the right fit.
Exactly. And I think I just had to go through it to finally figure that out.
So you genuinely your whole life were like obsessed with the Cowboys?
Yes. I started doing prep classes when I was 14 with a junior DCC before that. Obsessed.
So it was kind of a two-way street. Like your mom spoke so highly of her experience, and you also naturally gravitated toward dance and the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm. And I was like,
Because
wow, I want to have that experience like that my mom had. I want to do all that. I want to have what she has.
it kind of sounds like she really was in its heyday. Like the 80s were like the DCC gals' time.
Those were the glory days. They were going into that's when they were like super hot. The Cowboys were super hot. They were going to the Super Bowls. They had USO tours back then that were like 3 weeks long, and they would go just all over the world. And she just had so many experiences. So many experiences.
Yeah, and honestly, to have the athletics not be that grueling and to have your football team be actually good, like it's a formula for something I would tell my daughter was the best thing that ever happened to me too.
Right. Exactly.
So you're currently are you training to try out to be a Rockette?
Yes.
Is that your goal of being
Mhm.
there?
Yes.
When did the tryout process start?
In April.
The great part about being a dancer is you have your dance community. It's kind of
Mhm.
hopefully built in because most people in New York, what's great about it are transplants. They aren't like homegrown, cliquey. People are like people act like New Yorkers are so unfriendly, but I actually found that making friends there was one of the easier periods of my life.
That's how I feel. Even like this whole week, I ran into such amazing people just like on the streets. I ran into a cute like group of 3 friends last night after they were walking home back from drinks. I'm like, man, y'all are not mean at all. But the way is not scary.
So much faster than cabs. And I thought like I'd only want to take taxis like Carrie Bradshaw, but I was like, oh, this is too slow.
Yeah. No, my mom, she was like, I'm super scared about you doing the subway. This is like before we had, like when the move was like in the works. And I was like, no,
Yeah.
it's fine. And we have been to New York multiple times, but we've never ridden the subway. Like I always am like, let's walk everywhere. But our first subway ride was on Tuesday. And she's like, I love this. She loves the subway.
You know, your mom, like lifelong Dallas devotee, is like probably going to find herself in the city and come visit you all the time.
Oh, for sure. Yes. Which I mean, I don't mind. I love her. She's my right-hand man.
A lot of people ask if part of your affinity toward DCC was like pressure from your mom.
She was like the perfect dance mom because we kind of want to start like our own little dance mom talk kind of thing. Because I think it's super important for dance moms to know you never want to push something on your dancer. And she never did that with me. Growing up, my studio went to conventions and I was like, Mom, I don't want to audition, or Mom, I'm too tired. Can we go back up to the hotel room? I don't want to take this class. She'd be like, yeah, that's fine. She never hammered it in me. She always was like, whatever you want to do, we will do. And never once was she pushy about DCC.
So she wasn't disappointed when you didn't go back?
No. She even was like, no, you're not doing it.
I love the idea of you guys doing like a dance moms, whatever, like YouTube or whatever you do, because I think in that world, like if I had a daughter and she was a dancer, I would want some input about how to navigate comparison and competition, body image issues, and because it's all fun and games and leisure until you're at that competitive level. And then things are intense and cutthroat. And I think young athletes are put through a lot that they don't necessarily have the mental fortitude for. And I think in the dance and cheer world, you know, body image and weight is so pervasive and you have to be careful.
Well, I think it honestly like starts at a very young age too.
What's like the youngest you remember being like self-conscious of your body because of dance?
Probably when I was 7 or 8.
What?
So I had a very unique and fortunate experience with dance. I was in a co-ed competition group. So I did a lot of partnering and lifts. We just danced with boys. Like we had 3 boys and 9 girls.
Okay.
And we would do lifts. But I, however, was tall, but my partner was on the weaker side. So that's when I was like, oh, can't have that zebra cake at lunch.
I'm tall as well. And gotta say, some of the darker times in life are when a guy friend tries to playfully pick me up and then like grunts. I'm like, okay.
Yes.
Not everyone's light is rather stiff as a board. Like, leave me alone. Don't pick me up. I hate when people try to pick me up. So if you don't mind me talking a bit more about that, I have a love-hate relationship with DCC because I went to college in 2005. The show came on in 2006. And I felt like I watched it because I was so fascinated, but also it's one of the shows that sticks out to me as teaching me to hate myself.
Right.
And I think that's just kind of one of the hard parts of girlhood is, translating all the mixed messaging of society. And I can bitch about like oppressive beauty and body standards all I want, but I ultimately am watching and fascinated because a part of me still sees it as ideal. And I'm just as guilty of chasing and reinforcing the same standards that I'm raging against and feel oppressed by. So I'm not better than anybody else. But it's just, it's kind of hard to watch like them act like they've evolved. But I don't know that they have, because if you just change like, oh, did you not eat today to did you fuel yourself? It's like the uniform's still the same. I think you could perform that job and not look like that. Like you can have really high endurance, stamina, strength, flexibility without being like a size 0. And I just feel as an audience member, I'm kind of like, we're not stupid. We know that that body type isn't what it takes to do the job. That's just what you're requiring because of this uniform. At least that's how I feel, if I'm being totally frank with you. But as a person that grew up with the organization and has watched it change, do you feel like it's really evolved to a healthier place where people maybe won't have such an intense scrutiny of their body? I know I just said a lot, and I'm sorry. Thank you for letting me get that out. I
No, I
love the
love it
show, but
all.
like it always made me be like, God, my torso sucks.
I know 100%. And I think, did you watch the interview with Kelly that she did?
I think I saw a clip of it on YouTube and her saying like the world changed and so have we. But that's, I guess, my question was, did you rebrand, talking about being skinny and now you call it healthy, talking about eating, talking about fueling? Or did you like really meaningfully change and you're open to being more inclusive and less harsh about people's bodies?
I feel like I have to bite my tongue on that.
Okay, totally fair. Plead the fifth.
I feel like the only thing that they have maybe evolved, and I know what stressed me out, and especially with my eating and body image problems and struggles, was weighing. Like I hated weigh-ins.
They used to do that weekly.
Oh, if not every night. We got weighed
before 2020?
Yes. I used to get weighed whenever CMT was filming. We would have to sit in the locker room while they deliberated and pulled girls into the office. We would all be snacking, munching. Hey, let's weigh in like 11:30.
Well, I think your weight ebbs and flows for a variety of reasons. Like, what are they doing with that information?
I can gain 8 pounds and lose 9 in this term of 3 days.
And I fluctuate like crazy.
Me too.
And it's just not an adequate barometer of health. So was that information just being used to like hold people accountable to not getting like too far off course what they wanted your ideal weight to be? Like,
they would weigh us in at our first audition, and that's the number that they would want us to stay at.
Oh, like we let you on this team at this weight?
Yeah.
Ugh, it's dark. Ugh. It's just not helpful.
Well, and I think what our organization, the DCC organization, could benefit from working on is just their deliverance.
Yeah.
I think sometimes they go in attacking and criticizing rather than be like, hey, how can we help you? Like, what's going on?
Yes. To quote Jennifer Aniston about Brad Pitt, there's a sensitivity chip missing.
There is. Amen.
Because, see, and this is where I never know if I'm like a bad feminist, because I don't want to suggest that, as women, we need to put smiley faces in emails and sugarcoat everything. Like, I kind of hate when being direct is conflated with being bitchy. But when you're talking about things that are this personal and the stakes are so high, I do think that there's a massaging of how you say something that benefits both parties. So it's not hurtful. Even because I think you can be honest, but have tact. And yeah, sometimes the delivery, tonight's your last night, like that haunts my dreams.
Same.
Yeah,
Mama.
But oh man, do you have any like favorite DCCs of yesteryear that you like loved watching on TV or on the field? I have so many.
Like favorite past DCCs?
Yeah, like I love that Australian girl.
Janelle. Me too.
Yes.
Me too. I'm like hoping to find a trip to go and visit her. But my favorite, well, I have so many favorites, all of them really. But my older sisters, they're Sydney Durso and Abigail Klein. love.
Question about the makeovers. Do you think that they, in the CMT show, like, would the producers be like, okay, one girl's got to get a pixie cut and one girl's got to get a hair color she doesn't want just for the entertainment value? Or did they always just happen to have like a few people that they go rogue and like fundamentally change their look?
Probably both.
Because I was like, Kelly from Weehawken did not just get her hair dyed and then hung out to dry. I was furious for her. She's a doll. I think she's back in training camp. But
I was like, I'm rooting for her.
Her and Charlie, they both seemed like really sweet girls.
Yes.
So hopefully it works out for them. But I can't say I'd be too stoked to come back. Like, I mean, even the yes ma'am of it all is just so retro. Like, so if you say yes, they'll correct you and say you need to say yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Which is so funny in the South.
You'll get the I.
Yeah, yeah. Like, because I grew up in the South and grew up saying yes, ma'am, yes, sir. But everywhere else, people don't like being called ma'am.
My first dance class that I took in New York, this was not my first dance class, but I took a big like workshop in February and I said, yes, ma'am. And people are like, what?
You okay, girl?
Yeah. I was like, oh, that's not a thing. You're okay.
It's not a dictatorship. Is that dude with the camouflage pants that used to pinch people's stomachs with that like body fat measure?
Jay.
Is he still in the picture?
No.
He's out?
Yes.
Do you think it's funny that for judges, they have like a butcher, a baker, a bootmaker? I'm like, why is it the bootmaker, a meteorologist? I just think it's fascinating to have part of the criteria be like being a dance technician, but then have people judging that don't know dance.
See, that's where I find this audition process highly confusing too.
Right. Because are they supposed to represent the everyman Cowboys fan? But if that's the case, there should be a representative sample of that type of person. But if it's about the dance and skill, it should be more dance-related judges.
And that's where they pick and choose on what day they want to look for.
Yeah, right. Because I was like, so how much weight does this meteorologist's opinion carry?
Yes. And honestly, amen. Just amen on that in bold.
What's funny is I don't know anything about him, but this is what I do in my spare time. I go down rabbit holes and I was like, why did they have a meteorologist? And then his name's Scott, and he is on the board for pageants and judges pageants too. So it seems like some people just get in the circuit of judging women's events, even though they don't have expertise in it. So who am I to say? But the bootmaker did seem nice, though.
I love Randy.
See, he seemed nice. And I also used to love in the CMT show Phil. What's Phil up to? The guy that he did the dry erase board, right?
Yes. He unfortunately passed away this past season.
No.
Yes.
Because he got promoted to art curator, right? Like he had a big job there. Oh, I'm sad to hear that. But I'm glad we're shouting him out because he seemed like such a bright spot in like a very stressful circumstance for the girls.
He was. No, and we always have a hashtag to represent the year. This year's was hashtag the Whitfield way. So just treating every day like how Phil would.
Oh, that's really special.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about because there was kind of this cast of characters. Not everybody came back. Kitty Carter was nowhere to be found. And she is like such a staple of the CMT show / another person that terrifies me. Did you grow up going to her dance place?
Oh, Kitty is a huge part in my life. She's honestly like my second mom. She's actually going to come and see me. I'm taking her to the Great Gatsby musical next weekend.
Oh my gosh, please give Kitty her flowers if she deserves them, because I always just found her to be very harsh and critical and scary. But I'm glad to hear she's a positive force in your life.
She is. Especially her and my mom talk every single day. She texts me or calls me every single day. And my year off was when I started teaching at her studio and was in charge of her preschool program. So I did that up until I finally moved here.
Oh, I bet that was the cutest job ever.
It was awesome. It was awesome. It was the best.
To like be good with kids is so important. Like kind of basically childcare with a little bit of dance.
It is. I'm basically babysitting. I love
Is Kitty
my
still involved
babies.
Is Kitty still involved with DCC?
She's still in the alumni group, but they haven't used her in a while to come and teach or judge in training camp.
Was she kind of a sounding board for you too when you're like, am I going crazy? Like, was she helpful?
Yes. And I love Kitty because even though I struggle and I hate using the word hate, But this is something that I really, really hate, is that just because I've come out with mental health, I feel like some people think that I'm insecure or not set in my ways, but I very much am. And I love Kitty because she is very direct. She will tell you how it is, like, no, or you got to get it right. And that's very much how I work. But I feel like people don't know that or do that just because they think like I'll break or I'm weak.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So it's Kelly can be tough, but not always direct.
Yes.
And it's almost harder to do the mental gymnastics of like,
was she talking to me or was that?
Yeah. So Kitty will be honest with you. And you also know that it's not coming from a place of like weird social politics.
Exactly. And I know she's like looking for my best interest, and like she knows all of my goals that I have had. And so I know she's always like team Vic.
So your year off, you mentioned in the show that that was when you were dealing with depression, right? And to your point earlier, like it wasn't until I was the most confident version of myself that I even felt comfortable admitting that. It's not what people think at all.
I know. Well, and I was like, some people are like, oh, she was probably just sad. No. Like, we all have sad days. Get over it. I didn't get out of my house or even out of my bed for about 7 months. I was out of dance. I didn't go to a dance class. I didn't see anyone. I was down.
Oh, Victoria, right. It's so important to share these stories because there is such a difference between just being generally sad and being clinically depressed. And what makes a depressed person more depressed is having their sadness minimized and like it's their fault or choice.
Yes, exactly. Or you like, it's hard to explain too, because you don't have to have something happen for you to feel depressed. And whenever I like say, oh yeah, I went through, or like I'm having like a kind of a depressed day, and they're like, oh, well, like what happened? I was like, nothing happened. Right. And it's, well, then why are you feeling that way?
It's like, your guess is as good as mine. I know. And I think there can be like circumstantial contributors, but once you kind of hit that point, it's just, you can't think your way out of it. And I think that, you know, especially in the context like dance or cheer, and even how I felt growing up in sports in a sorority, it's like everything's kind of fake it till you make it, toxic positivity. And not to go against what we just talked about, but a lot of people submitted this. Do you think that one of the contributors to that time was maybe you feeling like you worked your whole life toward this ideal and then you had it and it wasn't like exactly what you thought? Not to project, but I'm projecting. That's kind of what I wondered, because it's hard when we make goals as young people out of context and then shape our lives around it. And then when we get there, it's not exactly what we had hoped for. And I think there's a lot of tension in trying to explore those feelings. Did you feel that way at all?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I have to break for Nat. I swear I'm almost done. I am so incredibly grateful to Audible, who is sponsoring this lovely episode with Victoria. And yes, this is an ad because I'm not like reading off a script because I want to give you my book recommendations, but perhaps I shouldn't bury the lead because they have an incredible promotion going on right now. If you, for some godforsaken reason, want to listen to 8 more hours of me talk, you can get my book among others, because now through July 31st, you can try 3 months of Audible for $0. Audible is a leading creator and provider of premium audio storytelling. Audible members get access to thousands of Audible originals, audiobooks, and podcasts, plus the biggest bestsellers and the hottest new releases, including a little bestseller called One in a Millennial, which I recorded 9 months pregnant, and you got to hear it to believe it. And this Audible deal is part of Prime Month and goes through July 31st. It's such a great opportunity to support authors and also grab some of your most coveted titles for summer. Like I said, I'm obsessed with people who read their own books. It's so special that Matthew Perry recorded his before he passed. I listened to that recently, and it was a tough one, but it was really beautiful. And an example of a fun one on the opposite end of the spectrum because of its delivery. One of the funnest ones, because I am obsessed with her voice, is Down the Drain by Julia Fox. Crying in H Mart. Michelle Zauner reads it herself. Outstanding book. And the other habit I developed that I still stand by during that time is going back and listening to audiobooks of books I've already read or books and TV shows that were made into series that I watched first, because you can get all the extra detail. And if the series stops, like The Summer I Turned Pretty, and the new season's not out till, 2025, guess what? Go listen to the audiobook and learn what happens. I re-listened to the idea of you after I saw the movie, even though I had already read and listened to it. But, there was some detail left out. So just a hot tip. Anyways, I'm a huge fan, and I haven't seen a promotion like this, so I was excited to tell you about it. So don't forget, now through July 31st, you can try 3 months of Audible for $0. Gift yourself or someone special an Audible membership today. To get started, click my custom Audible link in the show notes to learn more. We've also added my custom Be There in 5 Audible link on BeThereIn5.com/sponsors, and it will be up on the @BeThereIn5 Instagram stories and highlight as well. Whether you listen to my book or somebody else's, thank you for supporting authors as always. Wait, sorry, one last thing. This has been a hot debate on the internet, and I do think it needs to be said, not just because it's my personal preference and I find them incredibly convenient, but I, Catherine Kennedy, believe that seeing is reading and hearing is reading. I don't understand why people feel so strongly about calling a book that you listen to reading or not. I've just been seeing this discourse a lot lately, and I just want to remind people that audiobooks are not just about preference and convenience. They are also about accessibility. When I was on my book tour, it was really meaningful to have people thank me for recording one and making it available on platforms like Audible because they were visually impaired or a myriad of other reasons. Physically reading a book may not be easy, ideal, or even possible for somebody. So next time you call an audiobook not reading, just something to think about. This episode is brought to you by Osea. Thanks to Osea, nobody can tell me my femurs look too stubby in a tall boot because they're shiny and moisturized as hell and make me feel good about myself. I'm not saying that for the sake of the ad, it really does. I have pretty gnarly strawberry legs, the driest skin of all time, issues with discoloration, among other things. And Osea got me back in shorts a couple summers ago. And for that, I'm forever grateful because, especially Osea's Undaria Algae Body Oil, it's their #1 best-selling product for a reason. It is genuinely quenching. I put it on when I'm damp when I get out of the shower, and it's non-greasy. It doesn't transfer to my clothes or sheets or a nice robe, and it genuinely hydrates me all day. And I've never really had that feeling of glowing soft skin because my skin tends to soak up even regular moisturizer so quickly. But Osea's Undaria Algae Body Oil, it smells like summer in a bottle. It's got uplifting notes of mango, mandarin, grapefruit, lime, and cypress, like a fine white wine. And it's not just about the elevated scent. The body oil is clinically proven to instantly improve skin elasticity and deeply moisturize, leaving skin silky and soft. Osea is just kind of an escape in and of itself relative to other products on the market that do the same thing, with it being non-greasy, moisturizing for so long, and clinically proven to instantly improve skin elasticity, as well as visibly firming and makes skin feel more sculpted and toned. I can't explain the science behind that, but that is the way I feel. They were a women-founded and led and have been making clean, clinically proven seaweed-infused skincare for 28 years. And you never have to choose between your values and best skin with Osea because it's clean, vegan, cruelty-free, climate-neutral, certified, among other things. And it's just good stuff. It's not the ad copy. If you want to get healthy, glowing skin for summer with clean vegan skincare and body care from Osea, get 10% off your first order site-wide with code BeThereIn5 at OseaMalibu.com. You'll get free samples with every order and free shipping on orders over $60. Head to OSEAMalibu.com and use code BeThereIn5 for 10% off. I was so excited when I looked at my calendar and Helix was this week. It's only appropriate given there's a particular twin mattress that's a hot topic of discussion with our guest today. Maybe I'll ask her if she wants me to send her one as a little thank you. That would be a great sponsorship collab for a queen to get a queen from Helix. But anyway, I'm always excited to tell you about Helix. Not only do they support this show and allow and keep me afloat, they also keep me cozy as heck because I have one in all the bedrooms in my house and have now slowly overtaken everyone I know's bedroom. So if I'm staying at somebody else's house, I get to sleep on one too. I can't even tolerate a regular mattress now. And I know that it's kind of weird to buy one online and there's a bajillion mattress companies because bajillion's a word. But this is high quality coils and foam. They have their own manufacturing facility. This is not your average D2C cut out the middleman mattress situation. This is a real manufacturer who's done the research, who cares about their materials, who cares about longevity, who cares about providing a level of customization that's not easy to find in this category affordably. And I love them so much. The Helix lineup offers 20 unique mattresses, including the award-winning Luxe Collection, the newly released Helix Elite Collection, a mattress designed for big and tall sleepers, and even a mattress made just for kids that I will definitely be getting Teddy because it works for little kids that are getting their big kid bed and then flips to be a little softer because, kid beds are kind of firm. It's, of course, vulnerable to buy something you've never sat on to sleep on. But the way which Helix works best for you and your body is to take the Helix sleep quiz and find your perfect mattress in under 2 minutes. And your personalized mattress is shipped straight to your door free of charge. My husband and I have the Dusk Lux, which is a hybrid of our interests, because when you take the Helix sleep quiz, it asks you, like, if your partner has preferences to factor them in too, which is cool. And they know there's no better way to try out a new mattress than by sleeping on it in your own home. So they offer a 100-night trial, a 10 to 15-year warranty to try out your new Helix. And to be clear, that's not a gimmick. This is genuinely low risk. I've vetted this, so I'm not misleading you. A mattress is a big purchase and a big, heavy item. And they'll literally come pick it up if it doesn't work for you. But it's been like 5 years, and I have never had a person tell me they returned their Helix mattress. And I feel like mattresses are a big purchase that you'll have for a while. And it's funny, like, out of all my advertisers, I feel like in person, like off the record, people are always like, so is Helix that good? Like, do you have to say that? Because I've been wanting a mattress. I'm nervous. And I'm like, oh my God, no. I genuinely think it's the most like foolproof company you could be ordering a mattress from, with their matching process, their variety of options, the speed and ease of shipping. And it's been recommended by, doctors of sleep medicine as a go-to solution for improving your sleep. I should go to one of those doctors. Helix is offering up to 30% off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners. Go to helixsleep.com/BeThereIn5. That's helixsleep.com/BeThereIn5. This is their best offer yet, and it won't last long. With Helix, better sleep starts now. That used to be 20%, right? 30% off mattress is kind of a big deal. All right, back to the show. And now back to the show.
Yes. And then especially not just after my rookie year, but then after my second year was also when COVID hit. So then it was also just like completely not ideal and not up to what I thought it would be or expectations, just because the whole world had to change and shut down.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why it hit so hard right after that.
Oh, I think that would have been really confusing to navigate. I'm sure that was not fun.
No. And I'm going to use this little metaphor.
Please.
I also feel like I know my depression hits. Okay. This is our life tank.
Yes.
I feel like I love people. So I'm going to give to all my people. But when I'm in an environment that doesn't give back, I am left empty.
Yep.
And that's so draining. When I'm like constantly emptying my tank for them, but they're not reciprocating.
That's such a helpful metaphor for like, you're overflowing with energy and output for others, but your tank, you can't run on empty.
Plus also having the job of a cheerleader, which is like ultra extrovert. It's just, it was a lot, and I was not getting my refill back. I'm in therapy. I have been going ever since my year off. She says that I experience like such high highs at games that then my depression, like, it goes so low because I get so drastically high. So I am always just like this.
Oh yeah, that's a big issue for entertainers. It's so weird to be such a focal point, to get so much energy and to just feel like you are like living out your dream, your truth. But then it's over really fast, and then you're just alone, like in your room, and you're like, what just happened? And it's not a sustainable form of energy you can live off of. It's like in spurts. So you have to find that elsewhere, or find it when you walk away from it. And I've experienced come downs like that too, where it's too much and then too little, and you need some middle ground. And then it also feels a bit weird when a bunch of people are looking at you but don't know you personally. So there's not a reciprocal thing going on there.
Exactly.
So, if you don't mind me asking, a lot of people asked about this, and just they thanked you for sharing that you struggled with body image. I don't want to bring up something triggering. I know it's really sensitive, but I also know something a lot of people deal with. And that was a big part of the break too, right?
Yes.
Is there anything you've kind of learned in recent years, or advice you'd give to people that are kind of in the circumstance where they're exposed to a lot of scrutiny? How did you ultimately figure out how to take care of yourself and cope with kind of being under that scrutiny?
That is such a beautiful question. I can't wait to answer. I'm at 6%. I'm going to grab my charger real quick.
You promise you don't mind me asking? I know it's so personal.
No, not at all. I love that
Okay.
question.
Okay. Go get your chargers. You good? You good?
Yes.
It says an hour 18, so I'll let you go at 90 minutes.
Oh, no, I love this. I'm so enjoying our talk.
Oh, me too. Honestly, you're so
Thank you.
open and lovely and wonderful. And
Thank you. Well, and I think it's important too to know, like, people probably wouldn't expect or are surprised to hear that, like, I suffer through depression and anxiety. Like, I'm still working through it every single day. But I am this happy-go-lucky cheerleader.
right.
And it's just your job doesn't tell you the whole story.
Well, no, and that's why I told you growing up, this show, I was obsessed with it, but it plagued me because I was so envious of a person's ability to seemingly be perfect. And it would have helped me to know if people didn't
That we're not.
feel that way.
Yeah.
Like, to work that hard to have a certain body or have a certain job and to get there and still be unhappy is really a tough thing when you place your happiness inside of your achievement of a goal.
Right. Yeah.
What did I ask you?
About the
just
eating.
Yeah, what would you tell people that are having a tough time with their body image in terms of coming to terms with it, getting help, moving forward? So yeah, I would just love to hear where you're at with that now.
I feel like it is something that I'm still working through, and I'm going to probably have to the whole rest of my life. But I've definitely feel like being more open has honestly been that healing bandage that I've needed.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, like, I know I've been terrified to open up, but I think that is like the biggest start in helping you feel better. Point out the problem, circle it, put it in red, and start from there. And I partner with my therapist. I partner with a nutritionist who guides me. And my mom is very much my person that if I can't talk to my therapist, and I'm talking to my mom. And I think having that like support system that, like, hey, mom, like, I'm really struggling. Like, I want to binge today, like going to them, going for that help, whatever it is. I feel like can you hear me? I'm frozen on my end.
Your face is frozen, but I can hear your voice. And if you don't mind me asking, did you ever go to a treatment center or anything?
No, I didn't. During my year off, I thought about it. I was like, why not go for like a month? But my therapist and I, we're going to stick through it for like a month, see how we were at. And then she was going to make the decision.
Oh, okay. I love how open to therapy you are. That's so wonderful. I think sometimes what can be really hard too, when you are evolving, is being a part of an environment where behavior you've finally been brave enough to acknowledge as a problem is something a lot of people are still doing and not acknowledging that it's a problem. And in your self-improvement, it's almost hard to be like, the way we talk about ourselves and our bodies and make jokes isn't okay, and we should stop doing that if other people aren't ready to have that conversation. Did you feel like it was hard to connect with people when, let's be honest, to maintain that body type is going to take a pretty aggressive routine?
I mean, in the locker room every day, you can probably count 5 times or more. Oh, I'm so fat. I'm so bloated today. Or, oh, I look horrible. You could count that so many times. And it's just, I can't do that.
When you call yourself out loud something, and then then I'm comparing myself to the way I see you. And I'm like, so what is that? So it kind of can be triggering even when people are just talking about themselves.
Exactly. Because then say if someone says that they're bloaty, I would be looking at them and they'd be not bloaty at all. But then I would look at myself and be like, oh, I guess I'm bloaty too.
Right. And it kind of just can send you into a tailspin. So was going to therapy really the thing that helped you to deal with that the years after? Were you provided tools to kind of help you process that?
Yes. During season though, since that's probably the most hard time, I was going into therapy 2 times a week. And then I also, I have to give kudos. She's like my older sis. I worked at this fitness instructor called Eve by Taylor, and it's all women inclusive. It's a luxury fitness place. And she has her own workout method where it lowers cortisol levels and is totally full body, and she like really helped me feel confident in like my body, my skin. Like she was my other go-to person besides like my therapist, my mom. It was also her, Taylor.
I love that. Having people there to reinforce and remind you of the way they see you and to get out of, your own head, but also build you back up that you're like so much more than your appearance. I think that's what's kind of tough in that position too is, we can say it's on the inside that counts all we want, but could we be showing any more skin?
I know. And I have to acknowledge that, yes, for the profession that I am,
there's always going to be an element of that.
There's always going to be like a body expectation, but I just think like it can be handled, it can be talked about in a more healthy manner, not in a criticizing manner. And I am going to be very thankful that I will be in leotards now and not in a two-piece.
Yeah. When I tell you I've never gone out in public in a sports bra, I'm kind of like fascinated maybe because I'm so not comfortable in an outfit like that. In my head, you guys felt so secure in that because you all were like in such good shape. It's crazy to even hear that people were like dogging on themselves in the locker room when I'm like, oh my God.
Even at my unhealthiest, skinny self, I did not feel good in that uniform.
It would be incredibly hard to. And because it also comes down to the shape of you can tone and tighten all you want, but I have a short torso that the tassels would be touching the top hem of the shorts. Like I would just look different in it because of how God made me. And that
exactly
is such a frustrating thing to beat yourself up about. That's not productive, but I would still feel horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of part of the show. Kelly coined the term thut. She was like, you have a thigh that goes into a butt. And I remember being like, oh, is that a thing? Do my thighs go? This is show, I'll tell you. But yeah, I think is there anything you would tell yourself as like a younger dancer or like advice you would kind of pass along to even dance moms that are out there listening of how they should talk to their daughters about their body when they're having to, wear leotards and are on a stage being looked at the age when you probably don't want anyone looking at you, but you love the art. Like, what would you tell them?
I think it would be smart for the parents not to bring it up at all.
Oh,
and
okay.
Because I think that's like when parents start like pointing it out, then that's when kids will start to focus in on it. So I think just letting it be and not hyper focusing on those topics. And also what your kid might say, like saying, oh, Mom, I don't like this leotard. I look weird in it. I look like it's too small today. No, you say, honey, you look great.
Right.
Or you go, okay, then let's change it. And then examine. Don't try to back them up. Just move it along and don't hyper focus on what they said about it.
I think that's indulge them in the negative self-talk.
Because then that's when they're going to, oh, wow, then, okay, well, there's a problem. That's when it starts to grow.
Victoria, that's such good advice. I've always felt this way about like church purity culture. Like when they were like, cover up and you're responsible for how boys respond to you. I'd be like, you're the one sexualizing me. I'm just living. When you point out, it's like you're breathing life into it by pointing it out.
Yes.
And true body neutrality would just be, we don't feel any one way about this, or we're not forced to, I kind of don't like when people are like forcing me to love myself. I'm like, I just want to exist and not assign value to something that's like not a part of my heart and soul and skills. And yeah, by letting it lie and not indulging people in those conversations, I think that's like a healthier place because young people are learning to assign value to like good, bad, light, heavy, this, that. And by not reacting, you're teaching them that it's not the most important part of them.
Exactly.
I love that advice. Thank you for sharing. I feel like the body positivity movement can kind of be tricky because it's okay. I already was feeling bad about myself, but now I feel bad about not loving myself enough. And it's like a lot of work.
Well, and then we don't want to promote starving yourself, but we also don't want to promote you can eat whatever you want. Like
right.
We're still like trying to find that fine balance. And I think it's just going to come with time, but I think we're slowly making our way into the right direction.
I have a lot of thoughts about that, but I know people love that uniform. I think it is a special form of cruel that you don't get to keep it, honestly.
Me too.
That would make me feel kind of disposable or something. I don't know.
I think and They even say in the docu-series, they've said it on every CMT season, it's altered to our bodies. Then who's going to wear it besides me?
So, yeah, is there a DCC uniform graveyard of custom fits?
I don't know. I don't know where they go afterwards.
Okay, so let me literally the questions.
Oh my goodness.
So many of them are the same. So I've been incorporating into the conversation as we go. I just want to see if there's things that I missed. Hold on. Do you stay in touch with anybody from DCC? It seemed like were you and Kat friends? She was funny when she was like, didn't want her to come back. I was like, go live her life.
Kat and I are, yes, we're very much still close. I think we forever will be.
She seems great.
She is.
So you keep in touch with, do you keep in touch with anybody else? Like even from past seasons?
I keep in touch with Caroline, Anna Kate's sister.
Oh, I liked her. She was fun.
She and I so the year that I got cut, we were locker room buddies. So we started the whole journey together.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
She seemed like Kelly's golden child.
She was.
And
Judy's.
Didn't she say like, I think Judy hates me? Did you not grow up with Judy?
I did.
And you thought she hated you? Bless your heart. Why?
I don't know. I always felt like she always had something either to correct me, belittle me, critique me. Like I didn't think she ever said one great thing about me.
Yeah, she's a tough cookie. Charlotte's tough. What do you think of? So Charlotte, like she was more involved in this one than like the past one, and I could actually tell Kelly felt very uncomfortable with the Ari cut, which is kind of not great because you could have a height requirement and like you really wasted her time.
I know.
But she's dancing for the Dolphins now, I saw, which is exciting for her.
Yes. We are so excited for her.
People want to know how, how exhausting is it to do full hair, makeup, glam all the time? In general, like if you're a dancer, are you just so used to this? It's streamlined, or is it taxing? Because I think about coming home from a 9 to 5 and doing a full bouncy blowout, fresh glam with a strip lash on a weekday. And that would make me tired enough to go to sleep. Do you get used to it?
No,
not
at all. It is so much. And I will say some days I personally don't have the energy and I will not go with false eyelashes on. But
do they notice? Do they care if you have false eyelashes on?
Yeah, they'll say something, but
like at practice, I don't really understand why you have to glam for practice. Like is that normal for dance?
Okay. So on practices, we would sometimes get a little bit more leeway. We could go without eyelashes then, but they would want us to be always kind of presentable, just depending on if Jerry Jones walked into practice, Charlotte, they would want us to be on point.
Is there any other like beauty hack? Like I actually thought it was so interesting. I was like, thank you for sharing this because I've wondered this for years. When you cut off the top of your tights, I was like, okay, no matter who you are, where you're from,
you're going to get you. Yes. If they squeeze on you too tight.
But so how do they stay up though?
That's a good question. I think our shorts are so tight to us that they keep the tights up with them.
Are you wearing like a wired bra? That's interesting for exercise, I'm sure.
Yes, it is. I usually always end up having a bruise on my sternum.
Oh, really? Oh, because the knot's so tight?
Yeah.
You know what was so sad got cut was Anisha. I thought she seemed so great.
I know. She was my boot buddy that we got.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
And she has like a serious career. I mean, and to be over 30, that was like I really thought it was a missed op on their part.
I think so too.
And it was kind of like on the documentary, they were like, oh, we got to represent for the brown girls. And it was like so disappointing that they got cut so early and kind of, I don't know. And we didn't hear a lot about Camille, who was like rookie of the year, right?
Yeah, I'm surprised.
Because, yeah, I heard she was rookie of the year and I was like, I feel like I barely even got to see her dance. Oh, do you get forced into retirement past 5 years?
No, but that's like the senior year that there's only a very few handful to surpass 5 years.
Okay. The thing I need to ask you, if you are comfortable, I feel like the biggest conversation on the internet is about the compensation. And it's worth contextualizing that it's not just DCC. Like compensation for NFL cheerleaders is quite poor in a bigger conversation. And compensation in the world of professional dance is really tough. Two questions. If you're comfortable just clarifying, how do you feel in terms of if you're compensated fairly for your time and effort?
What I will say about pay is that I think some people are highlighting what they want to hear, which is that we don't get paid a lot, but we do get paid for what we do. And we also get sponsorships. So we get to do our hair for free, our tans for free. We get meals. We have our gym accessible to us. So that membership is comped. So we do get a lot of, what is it? Yes, a lot of perks along with it. And I think it's just going to be a slow evolution because, like, when my mom cheered, they didn't get paid anything. So it is slowly growing and slowly changing. I just don't think it's going at the paces like we want instant change, instant satisfaction. But I think it's just slowly going to make its way there.
Yeah, I think that it's probably depends on the individual, but yeah, I guess I was curious if it's helpful to know you have those perks because my friend Katie calls it the hot girl hamster wheel of just like the price of maintenance can be really, really
Oh,
quite
and
high.
yes.
Do you get spray tan for free? Spray tanning's expensive.
Yes, we get our spray tans. Hmm.
Okay, that's good. Is what I'm hearing kind of like it's maybe moving slower than it should, but it kind of is what it is. I guess, is it a common conversation even amongst the girls? Like, when I tell you, I think the bulk of the conversation is about people saying they're not fairly paid. This is exploitative. It's interesting because if that's not the conversation internally, that's kind of like a disconnect with the viewers, I guess.
No, there's definitely conversation like within the locker room, within us and Judy and Kelly with pay and trying to make changes throughout season to season. But I think it's just gonna slowly progress.
Yeah. From what I understand it, it's isn't it like hourly, like practices in the 12 to $14 range, then you get like 4 or 500 a game, then every year that you've been on, you get like another 100 and then you're paid for like appearances too. So maybe the reason it's hard to get a clear answer in the media about pay is because everybody's pay is a little different depending on if they're in show group or their tenure.
Yes.
Okay.
But
Could you live off of it?
no.
Don't they require you to have another job?
Hmm.
So, which is interesting too, because like theoretically, if you wanted to be like bankrolled by somebody and just train, you're not allowed to do that.
You have to have another outside activity, whether that be a fitness instructor, dance teacher. You can't just be sitting on the couch all day and then come to practice.
I feel like so many questions about money. It's pretty crazy. I think what people are feeling is just as viewers, the first episode opened with like they're in it for sisterhood, camaraderie, prestige, so on and so forth. Well, okay, yeah, but I don't know. It's still labor and it's still grueling and like watching,
Mhm.
Kelsey go from like nursing to practice, getting home at 1, waking up at 5. I was just like, how is this sustainable? If you're world class, this is just my opinion. If you want this like prestigious team, the way to maintain that quality is to give them a quality of life where they can rest, refuel, and take care of themselves. And I just, especially during that Christmas season, I mean, are you just running on empty?
Yes. We're running on negative.
What's your secret? You just don't have a choice? Do you drink Celsius? I don't.
Literally, my apartment is full with them, and I have 6 boxes underneath here.
Is there anything that you wish that the doc showed about you or context or about DCC that they left out?
I don't know, I think it was very beautifully put together.
It really was. I cried during Delta Dawn and I cried at the end when you were sitting in your like cubby. Did you know that they were filming like it was that toward the end?
That was, I think, just after a random practice.
They said sit in front of this camera and take your makeup off with this wipe.
Yes.
It was so poetic, I gotta say. People are curious how the Rockettes training is different than what you have to do to prep for DCC. Is Rockettes more a different type of dance or a different technical training?
Yes. So
Yeah.
I am going to be taking classes, and I'm just gonna have to, like, regain my muscle habits into the Rocket
Which is how do you classify that type of dance?
precision.
Precision, okay. I find the DCC style confusing because it's cheer, but it's not cheer. There's no tumbling, there's no stunts, but it's also not full on. It's like pom, but it's not pom. Like, how would you even classify the DCC style?
The DCC style.
It's its own hybrid.
Yes.
So it's like, how does one even train and optimize to become one when you just have to do a little of everything?
Yes. Also, our prep classes and the prep classes around the DFW area are very beneficial.
Do you wish that you like went to college or did something else before? I was too young to do it at 18 or it worked out?
Yes and no. Sometimes I wish I had the college experience and came back, but then also I'm just like, I'm here in New York now, so
I know. I kind of hate those types of questions. Like, would you do anything differently? It's like, well, no.
yeah. Like I think about it, but then I think, no, I love where I am right now.
I love where you are too. People are so pumped about New York.
Thank you.
And they're like, is she loving it? But now we know you got there Tuesdays. It sounds so far so
Yes,
good though, right?
so far so great.
I just wanted to read you some of the sweet comments too really fast, and then I'll let you go. So happy for her. Love her. Is she finally getting the peace she deserves? So hard to see an incredible gal be made to feel anything but wonderful about herself. I'm so proud of her. She is such a sweet spirit. Tell her to keep posting on TikTok. People are loving it. Where can people find you? Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the things, so they can support and watch your journey.
Yes, we would love that.
Yeah, where can people find you?
Oh, on Instagram, it's at Victoria Kalina. TikTok at Victoria Kalina 5678. YouTube
Love that.
is
5678.
YouTube is XOXO Victoria 5678. So anything with Victoria Kalina 5678 XOXO, just try any variation of those.
Perfect. I am so grateful for you having this conversation with me. There's so much interest and engagement, and your story touched a lot of people. And it's always so fun when somebody is just as wonderful in real as they seem on screen. And you're all that and more. And incredibly grateful for your time today.
Thank you. I'm grateful for you.
I mean, you guys, what do you say? Delta, we ride at dawn. Like, I, as an interviewer, my approach is that I want to have a conversation, not an interrogation. That's like, why my questions are long, and not everything I say is a question, and I want it to be like an exchange so people feel comfortable. And also, I'm trying to be like less emotionally reactive, not only because I fear sometimes people then, it's like you don't want your reaction to something to be so strong. Someone's then like comforting you and telling you it's okay, and they're like dismissing their own problem. But also like, I could just dig into one of these questions for a whole episode, so I kind of have to force myself to power through. So it's interesting listening back because I was so horrified, especially at the beginning, and especially by the conversation about friendship, sisterhood, her birthday, Kelly, her mom, her BFF of like 30 years. Like, what's going on? That's so odd to me because they've nothing to be mad at her about. I don't know. She didn't throw them under the bus on the docu-series like at all. She just spoke about her personal experience. And it's just interesting because Kelly's on a media circuit, like talking about how it makes this special is that it digs into the personal stories more than CMT did. But like, I don't know, maybe dig into the personal story of an old friend, Cal. Shoot her a text. But I don't know. I feel like that was some scoop. Like, are you talking to the girls not being invited on the press tour when she's like the star or being spoken to? Like, what the hell? Clarification about the location of her twin bed, the explanation for her brothers and dad, feel for her so deeply. Like, that's an example of something that, like, if I was having, coffee or wine with her, I would, like this conversation would look so different because there were so many things where it's like, oh my God, I just want to offer you support. It's also funny too, because I don't even notice while it's happening, but I was like, I was way more bubbly in this conversation. I think I try to match energy so like people trust me. I think I maybe over prepped a bit and was powering through questions. Anyways, I don't need you guys to talk me through my self-consciousness about how I perform my job at the moment. Just doing a little post-mortem in the old hat rack, but I can do that offline. What else? I noticed that so many of us had the exact same, like very specific questions. And if I'm going to keep you here for 2 hours, I'm not going to waste your time. I just literally wanted to at least try to ask the majority of what I think we were really curious about. But from an angle of like, we're interested in you. We loved your story. It was really different and refreshing. And we want good things for you. I hope she felt that. I think that like I'm not very good at navigating body image convos because I feel like there are areas where like I've done the self-exploration and work that it's one thing to be well-versed on it for your own experience, but it's a whole other thing to uh, have the like navigational skills to talk about things in a public-facing way. And I know I'm not the best at that. I apologize if anything was like triggering. I'm never trying to be a problematic millennial, but it's a part of me that they're never ever gonna take away from me. Just like knowing that Katy Perry once made great music, and I just don't know if it's ever gonna happen again. A woman's world is not the vibe. Anyway, I feel like I could do like a post recap on Patreon. I have so much to say, but I gotta wrap this up. I also cut like 40 more minutes of just random DCC chatter. And I was like, I don't know if this is deep dive material, because I don't know if that many people watch the CMT show. Of another fun fact that I guess no one really cares about, but in case there was anything weird I couldn't catch, or maybe I couldn't parse from the audio file, this was a technical nightmare. It took us hours to record the 90 minutes. It was just, there was so many different things on both of our ends that were happening, and then it was a huge editing job for some reason. And so I have part of the video, so I don't know if this is actually going to go on YouTube, but I'm so sad because it would have. Anyways, I'm going to post like clips and stuff on Instagram, so follow me at Kate Kennedy, at Be There in 5. Yeah. I'm just genuinely grateful that she trusted this platform and our audience with her more personal details that she hasn't really talked about yet. And I hope you guys will show her lots and lots of love, because I think she still is, being very positive and diplomatic is my read. But I feel like she told us, but I feel like she told us enough that like we get the vibe, Anyway, if you're in or around the Chicagoland area and you want to see a live podcast that I'm planning something like pretty weird for, that I really don't know how it's going to go, and I don't think there's time to rehearse it, so should be interesting. Every summer we do an event called Track 5, where it's a Be There in 5 live show. I've taken the show on the road in various formats for the past, I guess, 5 years of the show. And it's my favorite thing ever because I love meeting you guys in person. There's this venue in Chicago. It's like basically us putting on a small wedding, like ceremony and reception, because we have to like pay somebody to rent chairs, then pick up the chairs like we're at a middle school assembly. We move the furniture so we can dance baby like we stood a chance. The Victoria way, the BTI 5 way. And after the live show, we clear the chairs, and there's a huge dance floor and a disco ball and a bar and a safe space. You can put your purse down. You cannot get creeped on. If you need a helping hand, a friend, someone to, milk a clogged duck, give you a granola bar in the bathroom. I mean, it's got it all. The nicest people, the best vibes. And I'm just so excited to see you guys. I started doing it in 2021 after COVID because Loverfest had gotten canceled. We hadn't had a Taylor Swift like live show opportunity in years, and I just thought it was really important to get together and unapologetically celebrate something we all mutually love. And back then there weren't a lot of these like bar nights and stuff, so it was kind of like hard to put on. And we figured out this whole kind of way of working, just me and Courtney, and just decided I call it my residency. It's one night every summer, but it's like the highlight of my life. I wear a Taylor Swift costume, and there's no VIP or meet and greet. I just meander around the dance floor for hours and have the best time. Anyways, I'm not even trying hard. I think most of you know what this is. So we used to keep it tight because of seats, but we decided to like open it up a bit, and I'll just talk for less long. So because I'd rather have more people there. And if some people stand, they stand. I don't think they're sold out. Hence why I'm telling you about it. Regardless, it's going to be so much fun. The best part is a huge portion of the crowd comes solo. And per our conversation, it's so hard to make friends as an adult. And the friendship stories that have come from Track 5 are so moving. And nothing makes me happier than seeing people connect over like a mutual shared interest where they just like don't have to be embarrassed, apologized, or like, worry if they're going a little too hard. And I just think spoon feeding a connector for companionship in the form of the tortured poet herself is really one of my favorite pastimes now. So come if you'd like. BeThereIn5.com/live shows. I guess I'm just killing time because I'm glad you're here. And I can't believe you just stayed for this long. Thank you to those of you that like the long form. You keep this show going, support our sponsors. Audible, Osea, and Helix Sleep. The most helpful thing you could do in these trying times in the podcasting space is go to patreon.com/BeThereIn5, and it's like a monthly subscription fee. I, like everyone else, have a podcast and also a subscription model, because anybody who ventured out to be a creator is forever panicking about how to support themselves. So if you'd like to support an independent creator, my God, by all means, it's $5, and there is like hundreds of episodes and lots of video content and lots of personal information. So that's patreon.com/BeThereIn5. And if you like this episode, go to the verified Kate Kennedy profile on Spotify, and I have like playlists that are grouped by like, these are episodes about that are like crowdsourcing nostalgic stories. These are about like cults and MLMs. These are about sororities. These are about being a bridesmaid. And I need to kind of update them, but I'm trying to think of like one of my favorite episodes from this year. I think if you're new and you want to try another one, maybe Sephora the Explorer is like a great mixture of pop culture, zeitgeist, current event thing. That was a really fun episode from January about Sephora teens. But yeah, I'm in the process of trying to do an archival project, clean up the old back catalog, because I've ran out of space, so I have to randomly delete episodes. So that's why it might start at like episode 22 one day and then 40 on the other. It's a journey, you guys. But anyway, I hope you have a great week. Let me know what you thought of this episode. This took up my entire weekend. I've not seen my son, but I was like scrambling to get this together, and it's just very funny to tell my husband I have a DCC emergency. So I hope it was worth it. And I hope I did your questions justice. Oh, and rate 5 stars, Apple, Spotify, everywhere. Helps so much. Okay, sorry. Go team. All right. As always, let me know your thoughts. Such a good cheerleader. As always, let me know your thoughts, and I'll let you know mine. I'll be there in 5. I swear.